Well, guys, welcome back to the hillside once again. And if you haven't noticed by now, the leaves are falling. It's getting colder. The growing season is coming to an end. In front of you, there's still some Japanese mustard, some giant red leaf mustard over here as well. And of course, some kale because brassicas are a wonderful addition to the fall garden. Will do just fine and survive several frost. But at the end of the season, it doesn't have to always be a sad thing. It's been a lot of great things going on this year, uh, in spite of all the weather challenges and et cetera, et cetera. But what I want to talk to you about today is interplanting some garlic in your raised beds. So, like I showed you here before, these greens are still growing, doing wonderful, and they're going to survive for a while. We haven't had our first frost yet. We've had 32 and 34 a couple times, but I think in the next 3 or 4 days, we're pretty much going to start getting frost almost every day at that point. Not too bad, not really a killing frost or a freeze, more like the 32 to 31 range for a while, which these mustards and kales are going to do just fine. And that being said, so what do you do about planting your garlic is I made a trench right down this raised bed. It's about, there's an insect, it's about 2 to 3 inches deep right here, okay? Just for reference, here's a little garden spade. So all it does is make one little trench, pulled it through like this. Nice flat bottom. I haven't added anything to the bottom of this hole. I know a lot of people might put some wood ashes or some fertilizer at this point in time, but I believe that this bed is fertile enough. I mean, I've had no trouble. Like, these greens are growing outstandingly. I just pulled out a whole bunch of carrots from this bed as well, and some radishes and other things. And if you check my other video about the summer about supercharging or recharging a raised bed, where I added tons of cover crop and horse manure and all other stuff, which has all been broken down quite well. So I believe there's enough nitrogen in this soil, which is going to be just fine for the garlic production. So yeah, so planting garlic could not be easier. All you want to do is get a bulb, and I realize these are a little bit smaller than you might want to plant, but there's a reason for that. And right here on the bottom, this flat edge right there, that is the bottom, and the point, obviously, with a little bit of the residual leaf right there showing through, is how you orient the bulb. You always want to make sure the bottom is towards the bottom of the soil, obviously. So it couldn't be easier, guys. You just take your finger, and I'm just going to kind of sit it there right now. You don't need to bury any deeper when you make a little trench like this. You're just going to do this. You should do about 6 inches on the spacing. I'm probably going to do closer to 4 because these bulbs are a little bit smaller, and the reason why is last year when I grew garlic, I obviously have saved the largest heads, which are going to be planted out at another location where I have much more space. So it's going to be a fairly large dedicated garlic plot, but this is just an experiment to show how you can integrate some garlic into your raised beds and maximize the most of your space. And these bulbs were just some of the smaller ones that I'm not going to plant out in the field when I get around to it. These are just some of the smaller garlic bulbs that are garlic cloves from the bulbs that I'm just saving just to grow them out, not let them go to waste, and to see just how well the soil is. Like, this soil is as good as I think it is. These guys should overcome the smaller start and should produce some fairly decent yields for me. If not, then it's just an experiment. You're growing garlic, you can just dry it up and chop it up and use it, and it's going to be just fine. Whether the heads are massive or whether they're just smaller, average size garlic cloves, they all taste outstanding and will use just the same. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these bulbs into the ground, and I'll get right back to you. All right, so it's just that simple. One single row of garlic spaced fairly closely. Like I said, if you're gonna do this commercially or for a large scale, you want to space them out about 6 inches to maximize the space and air and sunlight and water, etc., etc. But just a little experiment. So I'm just going to go ahead and pan down here just to interplant it right through. Now the garlic, the timing of it, you want to plant probably within a week of your last frost, or maybe a week or two afterwards, depending on how severe your winters or your fall may be. The point is, you want the soil to be warm enough that the garlic bulbs down here are going to actually start putting out a little bit of roots. There should be no green growth coming through the tops. If you plant it when it's too warm out, the actual is going to start actively growing, which is going to damage the bulb. It may kill the leaves off. It could lead to rotting or just a complete failure. Or if they do survive, a much smaller stunted crop because of the spring. They'll have to basically just go off what energy they have left because they've depleted some of the energy stored in the bulb early in the fall when you planted it too soon, so therefore it's not enough to really store in the winter, and when it does wake up in the spring, it's going to be limited in energy. So right now what you want this garlic to do is it's going to start putting off some roots, and those roots are going to start absorbing some nutrients, get settled, get established. Then the winter's going to set in, they're going to go dormant, and as soon as spring pops in, boom, there they go. Roots are already in the ground, they're going to take off, sunshine, all this highly fertile, compost rich soil, and check it out. That's some good stuff right there. Lots of horse manure composted down, cover crops in this, mushroom compost added last year as well. So give your garlic the best chance to survive and the best chance to thrive in your conditions. Now that being said, there are two different kinds of garlic. There's the hardneck and the softneck. The hardneck actually needs more of a colder climate to really set firm, nice big bulbs. So where I'm at, it's kind of in the edge of the hardneck region. But I'm trying that out. I grew hardneck last year, the Spanish Roja variety. I did put a link for that video. They did quite well. So just experiment. Everyone will tell you like this won't grow in this zone, or this isn't fit for that, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's your garden. Experiment, have fun with it. You might find that some of the variety that someone told you you're not supposed to grow does just fine. Maybe something that other people are growing and supposedly in your region, maybe because of your microclimate, maybe it's a little drier, maybe it's wetter, maybe there's more sunlight, maybe there's it's protected from a breeze, whereas they might be a more exposed area. All these little things contribute to this failure and success of your gardening in general. And the same can be said with garlic. So this is actually a mixture of hardneck and softneck garlic. I don't remember which is which. They just kind of got combined. All my the smaller bulbs that were not going to be used for planting out. So this is just kind of an experiment to see what happens. But there you go, guys. You can just use this unused space just right down the center of this raised bed, just like this. These not going to affect the growing of this mizuna, or that red mustard over there, or the kale. They're going to do just fine. The garlic's going to be a perfect companion for these guys right now. And whenever spring comes, these plants, obviously these greens will be killed off and be harvested and probably eaten and pulled up. The garlic will start growing, and then I'll have all the space along the back of the raised bed where the kale was and the mustard. I'll be able to plant some more crops along the edge right there, some more crops on the edge right here going down. And this is a 6-foot bed. For reference, I think it's 6 by 4, maybe 5. No, it's 6 feet by 4 feet, I believe. Close enough, anyways. And there you go. So here from the hillside, just a little tip for you guys on how to maximize your space, interplanting a little bit of garlic, not let anything go to waste. Use all the space you possibly can. And there you go. Oh, hey, one last thing before I let you go. You probably should have already subscribed. If you haven't, go ahead and consider doing that. But anyways, before I get to the final point, you're going to make sure you need to mulch this when it's the soil starts cooling off. Right now it's still warm enough that if you mulched it, it might retain too much heat, which could trigger some top growth in your garlic, which, like I said, we don't want that to happen. So let it go a week or two. Whenever the temperature starts dipping into consistently frosting every night and the soil temperature starts to drop, you're going to want to mulch this. I plan on using composted leaves, where I have some bags and bags of leaves. I'll run them over with the lawnmower, mulch it about 3 or 4 or 5 inches deep, because that's going to sink down and it's going to decompose. That's always worked well for me. And in the spring, whenever the garlic starts really getting to active growth, you can pull that off, but not too soon, because you really want the soil to warm up and not be too moist and too stagnant, because that will actually help lead to rotting of the bulbs. So there you go, guys. From the hillside, a couple tips on growing some garlic, interplanting, utilizing all the space you possibly have. Hope this helps some of you guys out there. If it does, please leave some comments. Let me know about your garlic growing experiences, and I'll see you up here next time on the hillside, guys. All right, bye-bye.